Hello. If you've been watching my YouTube channel for a while now, probably have gathered from my trips down to Moonville um, that I have a strong interest and belief in the paranormal. Um, Everything started for me back in the fall of either fall of '79 or spring of 1980. When I was 5 years old, started having my first experiences at my mom and dad's house. Um, that haunting lasted until April of 1993 when I was baptized. Um, the incidents seemed to target me, but it also um, other incidents did have happen to the rest of the family as well. Although everyone else wrote it off, didn't believe it was paranormal, but you know, some of the incidents were obviously not explainable. Then when I got to college, whatever it was followed me to college, and a couple friends of mine actually saw it and experienced what I was experiencing when they were around me. So thankfully that ended in April of 1993 when I was baptized. Um, Also, when I was in college, there was a dorm on campus that was haunted by a girl who had committed suicide in the attic. Um, a lot of people I knew back then had experiences, first-hand experiences in that dorm. I know I felt a presence, definite presence there when I was in that dorm. And anyways, then when I was on my second job out of college, the the company I worked for was a digital communications company, and our headquarters was in an old Victorian mansion with a newer addition in the back. And down in the basement where our server room was, there's one area where I always felt uncomfortable. And not long before I left the company, I was down there, and our human resources lady, she had her office down there as well, and she mentioned that she never felt comfortable in this same area that I felt uncomfortable in. And I asked her, why are you feeling uncomfortable? And I didn't really say anything about what I was feeling about, constantly being watched when I was down there. But she told me that the area she felt uncomfortable in was where they used to take care of or used to keep the bodies. And I was like, well, what do you mean keep the bodies? And apparently at one point this old house used to be a funeral home. The area where I felt uncomfortable was where they used to embalm the bodies and prep them for the funerals. So needless to say, I never went back down that basement if I was in that building alone. Um, and left the company not long after that for other reasons. But anyways, as you know, I've made 5 trips down to Moonville, and I've had each trip down there has been interesting, their own different experiences and everything. And different things have happened at each time that I've been down there. So you're probably wondering, well, what does this have to do with, the title of my video, Has Chessie Returned? In March of 2007 is when I adopted Chessie. It's on the, I think it's last Saturday, is the 31st of March that year. And 2 days later, on the 2nd of April, I brought him home. And it was about 3.5 weeks after I brought him home is when he was found to have the heart issue that ultimately took his life. Started taking him to med vet. There at the end, he was on heart medicines, 3 heart medicines, each of them twice a day. And then he was getting a half a tablet of baby aspirin every other day. Needless to say, I'm an expert at giving cats medicine. I think he was really good at taking it. And anyways, that July of 2007, I adopted my second cat, Casey, or Casey Jones. usually call him Casey for short, but his full name's Casey Jones. And he went to my mom and dad's house to be raised until Chessie's heart condition got under control, and his cardiologist was like, yeah, he should be okay to introduce another cat into his home. So brought Casey home, and there was, of course, the initial fighting between the two of them. But 3 days after bringing Casey home, Casey and Smokey were, or excuse me, Casey and Chessie were sitting side by side next to each other at the feeder. No fighting whatsoever. They were taking turns putting their heads down and getting some food. Chessie's heart, he didn't show it on the outside, but his heart was gradually worsening, and then it was on Saturday, August 7th of 2010 was when I had him at the vet's office for a checkup for change that was made in his medication, and that's when he collapsed, and they had me rush him to med vet, and without major surgery, there wasn't any chance of saving him. So I gave the okay. They let me go in and say goodbye to him, and I gave the okay for him to be put to sleep, which was extremely difficult. But when the heart issue had been discovered, I made the promise to him that I would not let him suffer from it. So when I saw that he was starting to suffer there at that last hour, and there wasn't any chance of him recovering and being his old self, I knew it was time. So you're probably asking, okay, what does this have to do with the paranormal? Well, about 2 weeks, the day after Chessie died, I took him up to my mom and dad's house to bury him. Basically all of our dogs and pets that we've had over the years, they have all been buried out in the backyard, back around our barn. So literally we have a pet cemetery back there. Mom has a map made up of all the plots of where all the animals are buried. And we had an open area where we buried Chessie to give him a proper burial. And that's when things got weird here at home a couple weeks later. The first of what I've been referring to as the incidents occurred on the evening of Sunday, August 22nd, 2010, 2 weeks after Chessie was buried at my mom and dad's house. That evening I was out here in the kitchen doing dishes, and had the TV on in the living room. And after washing everything, I was drying stuff off and shaking off the excess water of the sink, and then I'd come over here to the doorway and I'd look in to see what was going on TV. I think I had Bob Ross on at the time in the living room on the TV. And at the time, the bookshelves were different back then. The blue cat tent, it was where the near end of the bookcase is down next to the basement doorway. And I came in here, and Casey was acting very strangely towards the cat tent. He was crouched about halfway to the floor, ears laid back, eyes wide open, tail pulled down between his back legs, and he was staring right in at the cat tent. And from where I was standing at here, I could see in the cat tent, I could see that there's nothing in there, that I could see anyway. And he was acting like something was in there, and he got over to the cat tent, looked in, and he instantly relaxed, climbed in, curled up, went and laid down. At the time I thought it was just a coincidence that the whole thing happened about the time that, when I was doing dishes, Chessie often would be in that cat tent, and that way he could be in the living room and still watch me come over to the doorway. But I just thought it was a coincidence at the time. The second of the incidents occurred 4 days later on the evening of the 26th, that Thursday evening. I was here on the couch eating dinner, and again, Casey acted strangely like he did towards the cat tent, only this time he was coming from across the living room and acting like there was something in Chessie's cat bed, which is where it's located right there at the front of the TV cabinet there. And again, from here I could see that there was nothing in the cat tent or on the cat bed, but he basically did the same thing: ears laid back, crouched halfway down the floor, eyes wide open, tail pulled down between his legs, acting like there was something in that cat bed. And he got over to the cat bed, instantly relaxed, and then got in, curled up, and laid down. So again, like with the cat tent, I thought it was just purely a coincidence that it was Chessie's old cat bed that he was acting strangely towards. So that following Monday evening, 4 days after the second incident, I was down here in the hallway here, leading towards the kitchen, and I was doing my ab slide on the kitchen floor here at the entryway of the kitchen, and I paused to rest and I sat back on my backs of my heels and had my arms down to my sides, and on my left hand I felt whiskers and breathing on my hand, and I thought it was Casey. He'd been really clingy after Chessie died, and I thought Casey was just coming up wanting attention. So I reached back and went to rub him on the head and couldn't feel him. And I looked back and he was not there. I look over, and in front of the TV in Chessie's old cat bed was Casey, curled up, sound asleep. And I knew there was no way he would have gotten over here to me and then gotten back over there and fallen asleep that quickly. So it was about that point that I started thinking that something might be going on. Wasn't quite sure what to make of it yet. Of course, that would change as more incidents occurred. So the fourth incident occurred on the evening of Wednesday, September 8th, 2010. I was again here in the living room, eating dinner, and Casey was again spooked by something in Chessie's old cat bed in front of the TV. It's about 5 days. It's actually 5 days later that Smokey came home on Monday, September 13th, and when he came home, I thought everything was all the incidents were going to stop, but obviously that was not the case. The fifth incident occurred sometime in mid-October 2010. Again, it was in the evening, and Casey again got spooked by something in Chessie's old cat bed, which at that time was over in front of the bookcases. Smokey was curled up at my feet on the couch, so he was on the couch, and then Casey was over seeing something in the old cat bed in front of the bookcases. Then on the evening of Tuesday, November 16th, 2010, I was here in the upstairs bathroom, getting around for bed and washing up at the sink, and my feet were bare at the time, and on my right foot, on the top of my right foot, I could feel the whiskers and breathing again, like someone was sniffing at my foot. And I looked down expecting to see Casey and Smokey, but neither of them was upstairs. Both of them were asleep on the couch. On the evening of Monday, December 27th, 2010, I was here in the living room eating dinner and watching TV. And I went to the kitchen to get something else to eat. And I got about here next to the recliner, and had the light on above the stove, and as you can see, there's a line coming from the corner of the wall across the carpet here. And as I got here, there was a shadow that was moving into the shadow from the wall, like something was moving up on the in the kitchen, casting a shadow down here along with the wall. And Smokey was on the couch, and Casey was on the back of the couch. But I got out here and looked around. Nothing was here in the kitchen, but the shadow cast on the floor was about cat height from the top of the stove, almost like if one of the cats had been up on the stove, they would have cast a shadow on the floor about where I saw the shadow moving. So after that incident, I realized something was going on, and quite possibly Chessie was still coming around to visit. So I talked to him like I do my cats, and basically I told him if it is him, he's welcome to stick around, but he had passed on. He's supposed to be moving on to wait for me at the Rainbow Bridge, and but if it was him, he was obviously still welcome here. This was his home. So after that, I thought things were going to quiet down for a while. So things were quiet for about 2 months, until the evening of Saturday, February 26, 2011. I was here on the couch eating dinner and watching TV. Smokey was curled up on the far end of the couch, and Casey got up on the back of the couch right about here and started grooming himself. And about partway through, he stopped. I mean, his leg was still up in the air. He stopped with his leg in the air, and his eyes got really wide, and he just was staring across the room over where Chessie's bed was at the next to the bottom of the stairs there, where all the toys are there next to the cabinet. And he was just staring across the room at Chessie's bed like something, again, was in there. He was obviously spooked. He was breathing really rapid, and he wouldn't even respond when I tried talking to him. And after a couple minutes, he just completely relaxed and went back to grooming himself like nothing had happened. So the 9th incident occurred on the evening of Wednesday, March 9th, 2011. I was here in the living room on the couch eating dinner and watching TV. And Smokey was asleep in the recliner. And Casey was curled up asleep in the middle of the back of the couch. And as I was eating dinner, I saw this flash of something white, or something with a lot of white, came up from behind the other end of the couch up towards the top of the video cabinet, or the cabinet here. And I was positive I'd seen something, because it was so solid. There was so much white on it. It came up out off the floor, from towards the floor up towards the cabinet. So I got up on my knees and came over, and I literally looked down on the floor, looked all around, didn't see anything, and came back, went back to watching my movie. The whole time, though, I'm trying to keep an eye out of the corner of my eye for more movement, which did happen. A little while after that, I saw, this time it was on just this side of this pillow, there was, I can only describe it as a ripple in the air. Almost like if you're looking at a still body of water and you're looking at your reflection in a still body of water, and you blow on the water, or you drop a pebble in or something, and it ripples your reflection. It's kind of like that. And again, I looked, and there was no movement. And when I looked, and I went back to watching my movie. And about a minute later, there was this loud bang of Casey, who had been curled up asleep here. He kicked himself off of the couch, literally went over the coffee table. At the time, it was a different coffee table. It was a little bit lower and narrower. But he cleared the coffee table and landed over by the bookcases. And he hit the wall, had kicked himself off the wall so hard, this Jaws poster literally came out a few inches. The bottom of it came out a few inches from the wall from the shock of him kicking himself away off of the couch. And I don't know what it was he had seen that, or what it was that had spooked him. But I mean, this is like right after twice I had seen movement over there at that end of the couch. And that evening, I mean, he always loves getting up on the couch with me. But the rest of that evening, after whatever it was that spooked him, he would not get back up on the couch again with me. He would sniff at the seats and look up at the couch, but he would not get back up here. So the next incident that occurred was on the evening of Thursday, July 7th, 2011. I was out here in the kitchen doing dishes after dinner, and I was wearing shorts at the time, and felt whiskers and breathing on the back of my leg. Casey was over here on top of the kitchen table, sound asleep, and Smokey was over here, stretched out in front of the back door. If both cats were asleep, there was no way that they would have been able to get over to sniff at my back of my leg, where I felt the whiskers and breathing on my leg. On the evening of Wednesday, October 12th, 2011, I was getting around for bed upstairs here in the bathroom, and my legs were bare at the time, and as I was standing here at the sink, I felt somebody's tail brush against the back of my legs at the knees. Went across the right leg and then left leg, going from right to left, and I thought one of the cats had come in and let their tail rub up across the backs of my legs. And I looked down, and no one was around. And I came over here to the top of the stairs, and looked down. Smokey was downstairs, curled up in front of the front door, and Casey was sitting behind the recliner in the living room. I knew it wasn't dust or anything, because whatever had brushed across my legs was going from right to left, and not down. It was right at the same level at went across both legs. So early on the morning of Sunday, November 6, 2011, I was here in the upstairs bathroom getting around for bed after watching a movie. It's early in the morning. So anyways, as I was getting around, I again felt the whiskers and breathing, this time on my left foot. And I did some checking. Casey was downstairs. Smokey was out here in the hallway, curled up, and he was looking around like he had seen something. I'm not sure what, but I don't know if Chessie had smelled or whatever it caused the whiskers, breathing sensation on my foot had maybe he had seen what caused it or what, but that's where Casey and Smokey were at the time, so neither of them were in the bathroom with me when I felt that. One of the more interesting incidents to occur took place on Sunday, January 15th, 2012. It's just after midnight, and I had come in to watch a movie on TV, and as I was sitting on the couch, I noticed off to the left Casey was going around behind the recliner towards the kitchen, and didn't pay any attention. Smokey was curled up in, at the time it was a pillow, but he was curled up over there on the other end of the coffee table there. So I'm sitting here watching a movie, and I heard a banging sound coming from out to the kitchen. And it was a sound I've been familiar with all the cats. I put safety latches on all the cupboards that they have access to, and all the cats at one time or other have loved to get attention by playing with the cupboard doors. They'll pull it open against the safety latch. There's a loud thud, and then they let the door bang shut with a loud bang. And so I'm sitting here watching TV, and I hear this loud thud bang, thud bang, thud bang coming from the kitchen. Since I had just seen Casey going out there, I didn't think anything of it, and decided to ignore it, figuring he'd get tired of it. So after several minutes, the sound was still going on in the kitchen, and I knew I wasn't hearing things because I looked over, and Smokey, he was sitting up, and he was staring at the kitchen with his eyes wide open. So he was obviously hearing the sound as well. And again, I tried to ignore the sound and keep watching the movie. So a commercial came on. I was like, okay, what the heck is Casey doing that he's still playing with the cupboard door? So I turned around, put my feet on the floor to get up, happened to glance over, and Casey was peeking around about where that blue ring is there at the end of the couch. He was right about there, also looking towards the kitchen. So with both cats here in the living room, looking at the kitchen, obviously hearing the sound, which is still going on in the kitchen, I'm here in the living room. Obviously, we had there was somebody else other than the three of us out in the kitchen. So I got up to go see who it was, and right as I stood up, the floor squeaked, and the sound out in the kitchen stopped. And I quickly came out, and the kitchen was completely bare, or empty. There's nothing out here that I could find. But the sound that I heard was one of these cupboards here, where when the cats were playing with them, they pull open against the safety latch and bang it shut. Over and over. But that went on for a good 10-15 minutes or so. And I thought it was Casey in there until I discovered that Casey had come back into the living room with me and Smokey. So that was one incident, though, like with the movement on the back of the couch that shortly before Casey got spooked, where it wasn't just me hearing or experiencing anything, but one or both of the cats had now experienced something as well at basically the same time that I did. On the evening of Wednesday, January 25th, 2012, again I was up here in the upstairs bathroom getting around for bed, and I again felt whiskers and breathing on my left foot. Casey and Smokey were both downstairs. So on the morning of February 24th, 2012, it's a Friday, I was getting around for work, and it's about 6:50 a.m., and I turned off the TV, came over, put the remote down, and as I was turning towards the kitchen, I could hear the sound of somebody digging in the upstairs litter box. So I thought it was Casey, because he gets digging around up there. Plus, Smokey was sitting on the floor over in front of the recliner. So I start going towards the kitchen, and I hear a crunching sound coming from the feeder out here in the kitchen. And I get here, and Casey was actually here eating at the feeder, and Smokey was in the living room. So I quickly went back through the living room and came up the stairs and looked in, and the litter box, I had scooped it about 20 minutes earlier, and the litter box, after I scoop it, I always smooth out the kitty litter, and it was still smooth. Nobody had dug in it or anything. But I know, you have cats for several years, and you know the sound of somebody digging away in the litter box. I'm positive that's what I was hearing that morning. On the evening of Friday, July 13th, 2012, I was out here in the kitchen getting Casey and Smokey their treats for the evening, and I was standing here at the counter, and I felt somebody paw the left side of my back from over here on the kitchen sink to my left. And I thought it was Smokey, because Smokey gets wound up when he knows he's getting treats. And I said, "You're not supposed to be up there, buddy." And right as I was saying that, I turned around and there was nothing here on the sink. I'm positive I felt somebody pawing at my back on the left side. And I looked around. Smokey was over at the doorway, and Casey was over on the floor next to the table. Neither cat could have gotten up on the counter and back over there without my hearing them. So on the evening of Sunday, July 22nd, 2012, I was again down here in the downstairs hallway, the entry to the kitchen, doing my ab slide. And Casey was on the floor in front of me, over there by the table, next to the table and back door there. And I felt whiskers breathing, and this time I actually felt a cold nose on the bottom of my one foot. And so, with Casey in front of me, I knew it had to have been Smokey. And I started giggling and told him, "Hey, that tickles." I turned around to see what he was up to, and he wasn't there. He was actually in the recliner, curled up asleep. So in the morning of Saturday, July 28th, 2012, here in the living room, I was here in the couch closest to the TV. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was watching TV. I think I had something on that I just wanted to catch a glimpse of before going into the kitchen. And anyways, I felt somebody jump up onto the couch right behind me. Casey was up in the cat tree, and I knew Smokey had been in the kitchen. So I turned around to see who was on the couch behind me, and there was nothing there. And Smokey was still out in the kitchen, and shortly after I turned around, he started coming in. So he hadn't even been in the living room at the time. But I definitely felt, one of the couch cushions go down, like somebody had come in and jumped up on the couch next to me. So around 6 o'clock on the evening of Wednesday, December 12th, 2012, I was coming home from work, and I was coming in the front door here. And as I was pulling the storm door shut, I looked down. Smokey was getting nosy towards the front door, and Casey was over about in the middle of the living room there. And I happened to glance up, and it was about 4 steps up or so, right about here. There was a shadow the size of one of the cats sitting in the middle of the stairs. And I was still pulling the storm door shut, so I looked back down to make sure it was closed before Smokey got too curious and got outside, which thankfully he doesn't try to do. But once the door was closed, I saw Smokey wasn't going to get outside. I looked back, and the shadow was gone. It was a solid shadow, about the size of any of the cats, and I hadn't seen it there before, and is actually the first of what was to become several sightings of this shadow at different locations around here at home. So on the evening of December 29th, 2012, which was a Wednesday night, I come downstairs to start getting started on dinner, and Casey was in the kitchen on the floor, and Smokey was stretched out here at the bottom of the bookshelves. The blue cat tent, which had been Casey and Chessie's, was where this red cat tent is now. But even though neither cat was near it, nor was I saw the cat tent move like someone was getting in or out of it. And I could also hear the crinkle pad, which when the cats step on it, I heard it sound like someone was stepping on that and moving around as the cat tent moved. On the evening of Thursday, April 11th, 2013, I was here in the living room eating dinner and watching TV. And again, the cat tent, which was where the red tent is now, it moved again, like someone was getting in or out of it. And I could hear the crinkle pad move, or get stepped on. Smokey was in the recliner, and Casey was over where the cat bed is now, that big cat bed. It used to be a big pillow, but he was curled up on that. On the evening of Saturday, October 12th, 2013, I was coming into the living room from the kitchen. Something was on TV that I wanted to read going across the bottom of the TV. Casey was curled up in the cat tree over there in the corner, and Smokey was not in the recliner. So I came over to read what was on the TV, and as I came over, I glanced over, and I saw a shadow on the floor next to the end table. It was a solid shadow. I thought it was so solid, I thought that glimpse of it, that it was Smokey. And turned my attention to the TV and saw what I wanted to see. And I was about to turn back to the kitchen, and that's when I saw Smokey over in front of the front door, stretched out asleep. And I looked back over, and the shadow that I had seen next to the end table was gone. On the evening of Tuesday, November 12th, 2013, I was here in the upstairs bathroom. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I'd just gotten home from work, and I was getting changed. I came in the bathroom, and I had socks on my feet, and while I was at the sink, I felt somebody step on top of my one foot. I looked down, thinking one of the cats was in the bathroom with me and had stepped on my foot, but Casey was out here in the hallway and Smokey was downstairs. So on the evening of December 12th, 2013, is a Thursday evening. I was finishing dishes here in the kitchen. Smokey was curled up in the kitchen chair here. Casey was on the floor below him. And I went into the living room to grab the remote for the TV and DVR to change the channel, or I forget exactly why, but anyways, I went in here to grab the remote off the coffee table. As I came in, I glanced over. I saw a dark shadow streak across the floor between the back of the chair and the end table. The end table at the time is an older, or a different end table that didn't have a shelf. It just had the 4 legs coming down. But it was a definite dark shadow streaking across, going under the end table. And so as I grabbed the remote, I looked back over again, thinking Smokey had come streaking into the living room, and I didn't see anything. I got out over here, and as I got here, Smokey was just getting off the chair and hopping down to the table, which 15-pound cat jumping off onto the floor, it's an unmistakable sound. Obviously there's no way he would have been able to have jumped off without my hearing him and gotten back out there. And Casey was still on the floor underneath where he'd been sitting, or curled up. So in the fall of 2013, I had purchased a book called The Sallie House Haunting, and actually, so in November 2013, I had purchased the book The Sallie House Haunting. It's about a couple who moved into a house in Atchison, Kansas, and I'm not sure if it was an actual ghost of the little girl, but one of the ghosts that they saw in this house was that of a little girl, and it seemed to always play around with their infants' toys and other items in the house, moving things around. And one of the things that the family, or that the couple did, was they started leaving toys out specifically for the ghost. So that December, I had my Christmas tree out. I decided to take the idea from that book, and when I put the tree up, when Chessie was alive, he loved looking in the door. I never let the cats in with the tree fully decorated because it's too many breakable ornaments and stuff for them to get into. So, but anyways, anytime I opened the door here to the office and had the tree lit up, Chessie always liked to look in, and he was just always in awe at all the lights in the tree. So, one of the other things that he loved was these little plastic golf balls. And I decided that winter to leave a golf ball out here, basically at the front of the tree, to see if, it would ever move or anything like that, and see if maybe that would, attract his presence to make an appearance. So, put the golf ball out, never saw it move or anything, kind of forgot about it. And then it became the evening of Saturday, December 14th, again 2013, and I did my yearly tradition where every year I always take a picture of my Christmas tree for my Christmas pictures, as well as my Christmas decorations, just because every year I always get some new ornaments. The ornaments are arranged differently in the tree, that kind of thing. And presents are always different underneath the tree, so I just always take a picture each year of tradition that I have. I've been doing it ever since I was in college. So, anyways, I came in, and I had a digital camera for a couple of years, so digital camera, of course, since I don't have a lot of film to waste or anything like that, I was basically going through each of the settings on the camera. I think there's like 23 settings, and some with flash on, some with flash off, and got pictures from this angle of the tree. So, and at the time that camera didn't zoom back far enough for me to get the full tree, so I had to actually shoot it at two different angles, one from over on this side and then one over on the other side of my office, between the two computer desks. And so I took pictures of the tree from this angle, and I went to take pictures from the other side, and I realized that I had left the golf ball in the picture. And it was kind of, I was like, I don't really want to shoot all 23 pictures again. And so I'm looking through the viewfinder to see if the golf ball was really that noticeable. And one of the last pictures from that angle, I noticed there was a bright spot on the picture. And I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but I took the other pictures from the other angle. Then I did the close-ups of the bottom of the tree with the nativity scene, the presents, and the Lionel trains stopped in front and everything. And anyways, took the camera, hooked it up to my PC, and I started going through the pictures. And that's when I found that there was one. There was, I've often heard them referred to as orbs, near the golf ball in front of the Christmas tree. Now, I've always been skeptical of orbs in pictures and video, just because they're oftentimes either moisture in the air or dust or something like that, or maybe even a reflection off of something. But as you can look at this orb in this picture, there's these neat, perfectly centered circular bands in the middle, getting closer and closer as you get towards the center. It's not like just a blob or anything like that. There's these circular bands in the orb. Not only that, you look at the picture, you can see where the flash of the camera is reflecting off of the ornaments, but there's nothing really that's causing the a reflection that would cause the orb to appear in the picture. Some people might say it's dust, but shortly before I put the tree up that year, I had cleaned this room and vacuumed it and everything, so there was no dust in the air. And plus, when I was taking the picture, basically what I did for each setting was I would set up the shot with the exposure here on the tripod, and I'd set the setting on the camera, set the timer, push the button to take the picture, and keep my hands off so there's no air movement or anything stirring up anything around the camera or in front of the camera. It's not like I'm moving around and stirring up dust all over or anything. I'm sitting here perfectly still. Only movement is reaching up to change the setting on the camera. And maybe it's dust or something, I'm not sure, but I've never seen a dust orb that looks like that. I've never seen an orb that has these perfectly round circular bands and perfectly centered like that. And it was only in that one picture. I've never been able to recreate it or anything. I mean, I've seen dust and moisture cause orbs in pictures, certainly done like in Moonville, there in the tunnel, but I've never seen anything like that in any of my pictures. And yeah, it's possible it's maybe dust or reflection, but you really look at it, what is causing it to look like that, and if it's if it's an orb, why is it? How did those bands get centered like that? And if it's a reflection, what is it reflecting off of? Because the camera angle didn't change, so why would it only show up in that one picture if it was a reflection? And also, why is it that when I removed the golf ball in the other two sets of photos, taken from the other angles, that orb never made any other appearance? So it may have a natural occurrence or cause, but that's really kind of stretching it, in my opinion, to say something natural like that is causing it. Just after midnight on the morning of Friday, January 17th, 2014, I was here in the upstairs bathroom getting around for bed, and I again felt whiskers and breathing on my left foot. Casey was curled up here at the top of the stairs, and Smokey was curled up down at the bottom of the stairs. So on the evening of Tuesday, April 1st, 2014, he's coming out here to the kitchen to do dishes. And as I got here, up here on this wall, I could see like a shadow, like something was moving over on the kitchen sink. And I came in, and didn't see anything, but I had definitely seen a shadow cast up on the wall from the reflection of the light coming up out of the sink, like something was moving around on the sink. And I checked, and both Casey and Smokey were here in the living room, and as an experiment, which backfired, I picked up Smokey and brought him out here, and I put him up on the sink to try to recreate the shadow. The reason I say that experiment backfired was because Smokey knows he is not supposed to be up on the sink and was doing everything he could to get away, and so I ended up giving up on that. But I definitely saw the shadow and the light that's cast up here in the cupboards on the wall. I saw something moving over on the sink. On the evening of Thursday, May 29th, 2014, I was here at the stove making dinner, and I felt somebody brush against the back of my right leg, going between the kitchen cart here and the back of my leg, where I was standing in front of the stove. And I said, "Hey buddy, being good?" Thinking it was Casey or Smokey. And I turned, and I was actually alone in the living room, or out here in the kitchen, and came into the living room. Smokey was curled up in the recliner, and Casey was in the cat tent, which at the time he had it flipped over upside down and was curled up inside it. So around 8 o'clock on the evening of Friday, June 6, 2012, I was here in the living room, just sitting down and relaxing after bringing in groceries and getting everything put away and getting the cats taken care of. And I was in the right half of the couch here watching something on TV, and I had the front door open, the storm door shut. Smokey was over there looking out, and I felt somebody jump up on the couch on my left. And I turned to look, thinking Casey had jumped up on the couch, but he was actually still out in the kitchen. And I felt, and right about here in the middle of the couch, normally it's kind of cool like it is now, but when I felt that night, after feeling someone jump up on the couch behind me here, there was a warm spot right here in the middle of the couch, like somebody had been sitting there. So early on the morning of Wednesday, October 15th, 2014, it was about, well, sometime after midnight. I was just getting around for bed, and I was in the bathroom up here, washing up for bed, and I went to put my washcloth up on the rack after wringing it out, and I felt somebody brush his cheek on the back of my right leg. And Casey and Smokey were both downstairs at the time of the incident. On the evening of Wednesday, March 4th, 2015, I was here in the basement doorway, putting trash in the trash can here. And as I was backing out, I looked down to make sure none of the cats were trying to sneak past into the basement. And I saw what I thought was Smokey going past towards the kitchen. I saw the back legs, tail, obvious body of the cat. And I came over and closed the basement door, look over, and Smokey was sitting over in front of the front door. And Casey was still upstairs. So I came, opened the bathroom door the rest of the way, came out here to the kitchen, and nothing was amiss. I couldn't find anything out here in the kitchen. I definitely saw what looked like the shadow of a cat coming past me towards the kitchen as I was standing here at the basement doorway. On the evening of Tuesday, December 22nd, 2015, about 9:30 p.m., I was standing in front of the dishwasher while making dinner, and I felt somebody rub his cheek on my right calf just below the knee, and I thought it was one of the cats, and I turned around to see who it was, and Smokey was actually at the feeder, and Casey was in the living room. Neither cat was over by me at the dishwasher. Around 4:30 in the afternoon of Sunday, February 14th, 2016. I was down here in the living room cleaning bookshelves, and I was basically taking books off the shelves, putting them on the bookshelf or on the coffee table, and then cleaning whatever shelf I had cleared out before putting everything back up. So Smokey was asleep on what was the big pillow that used to be here where the cat bed is now. Casey was curled up over in the beanbag chair, and while cleaning the shelves, at one point I took the books off of the coffee table, went to put them back on the shelf, and as I turned towards the shelf, right about where Casey's at now, actually a little to the left, more towards the middle of the window there, I saw what I thought looked like Casey, or not Casey, but Smokey, up on the back, on the top of the kitchen table, looking out the window. I turned, and I'm putting the books on the shelf, and I got to thinking, wait a minute. Looked back out, and the shadow was gone. I looked back. Smokey was still curled up where he is now. Casey was still curled up asleep over in the beanbag chair. Yeah, I'm positive I saw the shadow of a cat sitting on the out there on the coffee, or on the kitchen table, looking out the window, which was one of Chessie's favorite spots to sit. Just after midnight on the morning of Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016, I was finishing up dishes here in the kitchen, basically drying stuff out here. I didn't have the TV on because I had my headphones and an MP3 player on, just enjoying music while doing dishes. And at one point while drying stuff off, I turned and looked over, and on the counter right in front of the microwave there was a shadow the size of one of the cats sitting there on the counter. As soon as I saw it, jumped off, came down to the top of the food bin, and disappeared. Casey and Smokey were both in the living room at the time. On the evening of August 9th, 2016, I was out here at the kitchen sink washing off vegetables for dinner, and I felt somebody rub his cheek. Is definitely whiskers, and I could feel the head of a cat rub against my leg, the right leg below the knee, going from right to left across my leg. I looked down thinking it was Casey or Smokey wanting attention. They weren't anywhere near me. Casey was asleep in the kitchen chair, and Smokey was asleep in here on the recliner. Late in the evening of Wednesday, December 21st, 2016, I was finishing up dinner and got from the couch, came out here to the kitchen, and as I got about here, I saw the dark shadow of a cat come streaking out from underneath of the kitchen table and go across and disappear over by the stove around the corner. And I came out and checked her all around. The kitchen was empty. No signs of a cat out here or anything. And both Casey and Smokey were still in the living room. On the morning of Wednesday, December 28th, 2016, I was again getting around for work, and had just turned off the TV. It's about 6:50 in the morning. And turned off the TV and put the remote in the coffee table drawer, and I could hear digging in the litter box upstairs. And Casey was over on the doormat there, sitting there by the front door, and he was looking up the stairs, obviously hearing the same sound that I was hearing, because he was on full alert looking up the stairs. And again, Smokey wasn't in sight, so I thought it was Smokey. Put away the remote in the coffee table and turned around. Smokey was actually here in the cat tent. And I went upstairs, checked the litter box, and the litter box was undisturbed from where I scooped it earlier. On the evening of Monday, June 12th, 2017, I was heading into the living room from the kitchen. It's about 11:25 p.m. and I got about here, and from the front door over to about in front of the TV, I saw the shadow of a cat. It was definitely a cat because I could make out the head, the tail, the legs, everything. The shadow came from over by the front door, crossing over to in front of the TV where it disappeared. Casey was on what was the big pillow at the time, that's where the cat bed is now, on the other side of the coffee table. Smokey was curled up in the recliner. On the evening of Thursday, June 15th, 2017, it's about 9:50 p.m., came here into the living room to change the channel on the TV. I came around to get the remote, and I was standing right about here, and I felt somebody rub his cheek across the back of my left leg. And I looked down, and there was nobody there. Smokey was in the recliner, and Casey was in the big pillow there on the other side of the coffee table. About 8:02 p.m. on Saturday, July 15th, 2017, I was sitting here at the end of the couch, messing with my phone, and Casey was on my lap, Smokey was in the recliner, and I saw and heard the cat tent move, which was again where the red tent is now. The red tent wasn't here when the blue tent was there, but I definitely heard and saw it move. Around 8 o'clock or so on the evening of Friday, September 22nd, 2017, I was coming out here into the kitchen to get in the cupboard to get plastic plates for Casey and Smokey's treats, and plus the little canned pumpkin that I give them. And while I was in the cupboard, I heard this thud of somebody jumping up on the food bin. I looked down, and there was nobody there, but I definitely heard somebody jump up there. Around 9 o'clock on the evening of Thursday, December 7th, 2017, I was coming down the stairs to go to the kitchen to start on dinner, and Smokey was here at the bottom of the stairs waiting for me. And I turned the corner and saw the recliner moving back and forth like somebody had jumped out of the recliner and left it rocking back and forth a little bit. Casey was not near it. He was actually in the cat tent curled up asleep at the time, and Smokey was still over in the doorway. But this recliner was definitely rocking back and forth about like that. On the afternoon of Monday, January 15th, 2018, at about 3:15 p.m., I just closed the basement door after putting some trash in the trash can, and pulling the basement door open the rest of the way so the cats had full access to the litter box in the bathroom. And I saw what I thought was Smokey going towards the living room. And I said, "Hi, bud." And I turned around towards the living room, and he was not in the living room. Casey was in the cat tent. But actually, he was in that cat tent because that one was new at the time. So this time the cat tent was over here. But Smokey was out on the kitchen table looking out the window, and there's no sign of any other cats or anything here in the living room. About 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday, October 15th, 2018, I was here in the downstairs bathroom, just coming out to go upstairs, and I got here and saw the recliner. It had been still like it is now, but as I got to the doorway here, it actually started to move back and forth a couple times, like somebody had jumped in or out of it. Smokey was over on the big pillow, which is where the cat bed is now, and Casey was over in the beanbag chair. So on the evening of Monday, December 10th, 2018, I was out here in the kitchen, here at the sink, and Casey was on the kitchen table there next to this right-hand chair that's slightly turned there, and Smokey was in the living room on the recliner. And I noticed Casey was fixated on something in the living room, and couldn't figure out what it was. I thought maybe it was something on TV. I came over here and he basically was ignoring me for a while, and after a couple minutes he jumped down, came right in here, and he crouched down behind this blue basket here, this blue clothes basket that's upside down here. He's crouching down like he's hiding from something and peeking up over it, looking at something over in front of the area of the TV. And after a little while, he jumped over here and came over, and I thought he was seeing his reflection or something in the glass on the cabinet, but he wasn't actually focused on that. He was focused out here, almost like there was something here on the carpet in front, about 2 feet out from the cabinet, out here in the middle of the living room here. And I mean, he was literally acting and looking at it like at different sides and stuff, like there was something there in front of him that I could not see. And after a couple minutes, he started acting normal again. He acted like nothing was there. So in the afternoon of Saturday, December 22nd, 2018, about 5:09 p.m., I was in the middle of vacuuming here in the living room, and I sat down here on the couch because I had movies on, and I wanted to watch the kitchen scene in Gremlins, where the Gremlins make their big appearance. So I'm sitting here on the couch, and I felt the cushion over here to my right sink down, like someone had come up on the couch next to me. And there's nothing there, but I felt, and there was a definite warm spot right in here, like someone had been sitting there. Smokey was still in the kitchen, and Casey was actually here on the floor in front of me. The Saturday of April 6th, it's about 1:05 p.m. I was getting around to leave for the theater to watch a movie, and I was here in the kitchen, and I was about to head back upstairs to finish getting around, and I got about right here between the bathroom and the closet, and I saw the by now familiar shadow of a cat. It's so solid I thought it was Smokey. Come running out from behind the other end of the coffee table and disappear around the corner over by the front door and stairs. And I continued walking in, and I was about to say to Smokey, just slow it down, and I look over, and he's curled up asleep in the recliner. And Casey was actually curled up in the green clothes basket there under this edge of the coffee table. So both cats were curled up asleep, and the shadow I had seen, no sound whatsoever. And it's kind of ironic that it would appear that day, because the movie I went to see was the remake of Pet Sematary, and in the remake, the cat that came back from the dead was a Maine Coon, and Chessie was a Maine Coon. So the 48th and so far the latest of the incidents to occur was on the morning of Monday, April 22nd, 2019. I had the day off from work because it's the day after Easter, and I had activities with my family over the weekend, so I had that Monday off. And I got up about 10:30 in the morning, and I was putting in my contacts at the sink, Smokey was on the lid of the toilet there to the left of where I was at, and I felt somebody rub his cheek on my bare right leg. I looked down expecting to see Casey, but nothing was there. And by the time I got downstairs, Casey was still curled up in the beanbag chair there by the window. So at this point, you're probably asking yourself, why has Chessie come back? Why has he not moved on if he has died, since he's died? And I believe that, Chessie was very close, and he was very close to me as I was to him. And this was his only home. When he was in foster care before I adopted him, he was briefly at this lady's house, apparently before he went up for adoption. Actually, he went up for adoption the day I went looking for a kitten, so our paths literally crossed right at the same moment. And anyways, he was very close to me. He knew my behaviors. There was times literally where it felt like, he was almost human, as close as he was to me. And anyways, this is his only home. The weekend after I got him, I took him up to my mom and dad's because I was going up there for Easter that weekend, and I didn't want to leave him home alone. My mom was like, "Sure, you can bring him up. We'll keep the dogs under control." And but he curled up with everyone up there when he was up there. But anytime anyone came down here to his home, he would take off running, and either hide behind the fridge or run upstairs and hide in the bathtub. He didn't like any other humans other than me. He tolerated going to the vet, but he obviously did not like going to the vet. But this was his only home. It would make sense as to why this being the only place he's known, why he's still sticking around. One of the things I've often wondered is, is it really Chessie that's come back? Some folks that I've told this about my incidents to, they have, suggested that, hey, what if it's something imitating Chessie and not Chessie himself? And, it's April 2019 right now. The incidents have been going on 9 years almost. So it's been about, a little over 8.5, going on 9 years. And all the incidents that have occurred, they're basically almost like I have a third cat in the house. It's not like, anything, furniture was getting moved around, or anything, or like an apparition of a person would be seen, that kind of thing. Nothing like a human ghost or anything demonic or anything like that. It's all been something cat related, or like a cat. So anyways, the other possibility I've thought of is, is it a poltergeist type of occurrence? Poltergeist, everything I've ever heard about poltergeist activity, basically where a stressed out person's mind is basically causing incidents to occur around the home. The person's always been under stress and everything. Yeah, I've been under stress with work and everything, but when these incidents have occurred, one, I'm not even thinking about them. My mind's totally elsewhere and focusing on something else. And not only that, I'm typically relaxed when this happens. I'm relaxed, like in the kitchen when I saw the shadow jump down in front of the microwave. I was relaxed listening to music on my MP3 player, and just, my focus is on something else, and then it's like out of the blue something happens, and it's like, that just happened. And so but I mean, it's not something that happens when I'm under stress. In fact, usually when I'm stressed from work and tired from work and everything, is when the incidents don't happen. So, which I'll get on to a little bit more. But the other possibility a friend of mine suggested is, maybe it is a psychic recording of Chessie. He spent, close to 3.5 years here. Maybe this is like his, like a psychic recording where the events are played over and over, basically from the energy imprint that the living being has left on the environment. I've been trying to look at that actually, but there's no real evidence of this actual psychic recording thing, because if you look at the incidents, I've actually been keeping track of the incidents by year, month, where they've been happening, time of day, day of the month, and day of the week, and there's no real pattern as to what has been happening. I mean, granted, it's usually on weekends, any time of the day on weekends, and then towards the evenings on the weekdays, which of course is when, I'm awake here at home. Obviously, I can't keep track of things when I'm at work. But if anything, the pattern, it fits with where all the incidents have occurred. It fits with, where everything has been happening, because all the incidents have occurred either in the kitchen, downstairs hallway, in the living room, or in the upstairs bathroom. The exception being when I took the picture here of the Christmas tree here in my office. Not sure where, why that was an exception, but basically, all the places where the incidents have occurred is where the cats have been allowed to basically live freely. I don't let them in the bedroom or office here unless I'm in here, simply because there's too much for them to get into. I don't let them down the basement because with the trains and my oil paintings and everything, there's too much for them to get into trouble or get hurt with down there. So, I don't, go letting them down there, but it's all the incidents have occurred though where the cats basically have always been allowed to live. So if it's Chessie's ghost that's come back, one thing I've initially was wondering was, why is Casey spooked by him? There was the incident where, the incidents with Chessie's cat bed and the tent where Casey was obviously spooked by something in there that I could not see. Not only that, there was the incident on the back of the couch where Casey got spooked by something and went literally launching himself across the living room to get away from it. I was wondering, initially why Casey would get spooked by Chessie. I mean, he knew Chessie for a long time. The two of them were very close. Casey was almost lost when Chessie died, and I was really spooked that he was going to get sick or something, because he was obviously upset and looking all over for him. But you think about it, would Casey understand the concept of Chessie coming back as a ghost? Cats are so reliant on their senses, with the sense of smell, sight, hearing, touch, taste, all that. And, it's like when I bring the two, when I bring the cats back from the vet's office, there's always bickering, even though they've been friends. There's bickering because they don't like the smell of the cat's office. They smelled the vet's office on the other one, and they get to fighting. And so basically I have to referee for the weekend whenever I've taken one of them to the vet's office or both of them to the vet's office. So when Casey sees Chessie's ghost, or if it is Chessie's ghost, in the, say the cat tent or Chessie's bed, Casey is seeing a cat, but the other senses aren't really kicking in. The sounds, he might not be hearing Chessie like he used to when Chessie was alive. He might not be smelling him like when he was alive. And it might be throwing him off and spooking him. Another thing I've often wondering too is, is Chessie, attached to this location? He died. Grant he died at MedVet when he was put to sleep, but is he attached to this location from living here, or is he attached to an object that had been his? I know when he was buried, I did bury him with a couple of his toys. One was a red golf ball that he had found down in the basement. The other was a stuffed mouse, with the extra stuffed mice that I had. So he had that, he was buried with. But here at home, I still got the cat tent that he and Casey shared. His cat bed is still downstairs, as well as cat toys. There's a cube thing that he and Casey roughhoused in so much it was destroyed. That's actually still in my office closet. I haven't gotten rid of that yet because I just haven't been able to. But it makes me wonder, is he attached to one of those objects or something too? So one of the things that I've been wondering is, does he come around more often than I realize? When I'm relaxed and everything is when all the incidents have happened, and it has me wondering, is he coming around that I don't, and I'm not seeing him or sensing him? That because my mind is quite possibly not in tune with picking up his visits. I know there's probably going to be some people watching this that are thinking, oh, you're being crazy, you're just imagining this whole thing. I thought the whole thing was coincidence the first few times it happened, and wasn't really sure what to make of it. But, there's the incidents that have happened where, like with the cupboard door in the kitchen, where not only did I hear it, Casey and Smokey heard it at the same time. And so that was definitely not my imagination. Plus, the fact that, I went to get up to go check it out, the floor squeaks and the noise stops. That's an intelligent haunting. That's not, some random event or anything. That's whatever was causing that heard me get up. And both cats heard the noise as well. So that was not my imagination. When I felt, somebody rubbing against my leg or sniffing at my hand or something, I looked down expecting to see one of the cats, Casey or Smokey, and there's nothing there. And Casey and Smokey aren't even around to cause that. So it has me wondering, though, when I'm stressed or something, is Chessie possibly coming around more often? But because I'm stressed, basically my mind's not tuned in. Is that possibly causing me not to notice that he's coming around like he usually does? So that's basically give me some ideas as to how to investigate what's been happening. A friend of mine, he's been trying to give me some ideas on what to do, because one of the things, I'm wanting to find more evidence that Chessie has been coming around. And the thing is, trying to investigate, when I've got so much other things going on around home and everything that I haven't really had time to just sit down and start trying to sit around and wait and possibly come up with nothing. And the events, they're so random. There's no pattern or anything to actually set up other than where they've been locating or occurring. So what I've been wanting to do is, and this is on a suggestion of a friend of mine, is take my video camera and basically set it up running on battery with an empty memory card. I can get a couple hours of video and basically just set the camera up somewhere and record video. And then since a lot of folks are into this kind of thing, put the video up here on YouTube, and then allow whoever wants to watch it go through and watch it for me and see if there's anything that they see or hear or anything unusual. That could definitely help me out with finding out if something's going on that I might not know about. Issue of that, of course, being obviously I can't have any music or TV on or anything when that's happening because because obviously copyright issues on YouTube here, but like if I'm not doing anything in the evenings, say upstairs here on the computer, I could have the camera running downstairs in the living room, recording what's going on. Likewise, when I go out for my Saturday morning jogs, I've left the camera running to try and pick up what the cats are doing. It could be the same thing for picking up if anything's going on with Chessie. So there's some possibilities I have. I've got the camera mount there where I put my camera on my windshield of the Jeep for my road trip videos. I can put the camera either on the kitchen window or living room window to get a nice overview of the kitchen or living room. I could also put it where I've put it before, down on top of the stereo in the video cabinet of the TV, and that way it's protected from the cats getting to it and messing with it. Other option I thought of was setting it up in here somewhere in the office, even though there's only been one apparent incident that has occurred here in the office. I'd like to be able to see if maybe that would be a possibility too, that something might happen in here that I might not know about because Chessie spent a lot of time in here too. The other possibility too, even though nothing has happened down there, is setting up the camera somewhere in the basement and see if anything gets picked up. Nothing's happened up down there. After Casey came on board, the cats never were allowed down the basement again. When Chessie was a kitten, I did let him down there to check the basement out, and I kept an eye on him when he first went down there, and he would sniff around and check everything out, and then he'd go up on the stairs and curl up and watch me in the trains. So, it's possible something might show up down there. I'm not sure. Only problem with that is I've got the basement window, the only basement window down there, blocked off to keep sunlight from coming in on the trains. So that would require leaving lights on and stuff, which would burn up electricity, which I don't really want to do. But that that would be another possibility too. So. Also, when doing the videos, I could easily leave the EMF detector up somewhere where, to see if the any EMF spikes hit or anything like that. That's one thing I've never actually done, is gone around my home to check it out with my EMF detector. This is the one that I used down in Moonville that you've seen in some of my videos from down there. I would definitely leave that up and running and see if that picks up anything too. So, anyways, thank you for listening about my experiences and my theories of what's been going on. If you have any ideas, if you like the ideas of me posting videos of what's been, of 2-hour videos of my living room or wherever I set the camera up, if you are up to watching that, please let me know. If you have any ideas or suggestions on how I could, investigate things and possibly get better evidence than just that one picture, let me know as well. So, thanks for watching, everybody.